In the 1870s, when Danes began immigrating to the United States, there was no place where Danes could preserve their heritage and traditions, so they settled wherever there was work and then blended in with the general population. In 1879, the Chicago and Dakota Railroad was built, which served a sparsely populated region of Minnesota. With the help of this railroad, a Danish community was established in southwestern Minnesota. In the mid-1860s, Denmark was at war with the German Empire. The result of this war was a reduction of Denmark's land on Jutland Peninsula, the mainland portion of Denmark. The new government in southern Jutland was discriminatory and imposed laws regulating Danish land ownership and requiring German to be spoken in schools. Some Danes living in this area decided to leave because of these new laws. My ancestors, the Wogensons, came to America during this time. The Wogensons were from a small village called Hyrup in the southwestern part of Jutland Peninsula, an area where the Germans had taken over. When they heard that American soil was richer in nutrients than the land that they owned in Denmark, they dreamed of owning land on the countryside and farming. The family settled in Clinton, Iowa. In Clinton, the family found jobs at the local furniture factory and the railroad. They were doing well, but the family had grown accustomed to farming, which is what Nis the First had done for a living in Denmark. 2 years later, a Danish colony was established in southern Minnesota. This colony would help the Wogensons achieve their dream of farming in America. North of where the Wogensons settled, residents and politicians of the state of Minnesota were debating the idea of building railroads in order to increase transportation productivity. The main problem was that transportation in Minnesota relied on waterways. The lack of waterways in between the Red River, the Mississippi River, and Lake Superior meant that some areas of the state could not get goods very quickly. One of the resulting railroads, the Chicago and Dakota Railroad, was built with the hope of connecting the Mississippi River with the Missouri River. Before this connection happened, westbound goods from Minnesota and Wisconsin had to be transported down to St. Louis, the mouth of the Missouri River. In 1879, the Chicago and Dakota Railroad was built through Lincoln County, Minnesota. While it bypassed the few sparse communities that were established beforehand, it created new communities along its route. One of these communities was named Tyler. In 1881, the Chicago and Dakota Railroad Company was bought out by the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad. Because of consolidation of railway systems, this brought a greater number of trains into Tyler and resulted in quicker development. There was an agreement with the railroad that for a certain number of years, some of the farmland in northern Hope Township was reserved for Danes to purchase. In 1885, the cost of this land was $7 per acre. This price was increased by 50 cents per acre each subsequent year. The year 1885 was a turning point in the history of Danish immigration. That year, a Danish colony called Danebod was established in southern Tyler. Danebod was named after a 10th century Danish queen. The name means the one who saves the Danes. The community of Danebod was formed independently, but it was connected to the rest of Tyler's ethnic community, which developed mostly in northern Tyler and Marshfield Township. It was promoted by the Clinton Lutheran Church in Iowa, the church where the Wogensons attended. Most Danes who immigrated to Tyler did so a year or more after Danebod was established. This is because of the difficulty of breaking the prairie sod to start a farm, and the difficulty of planning the move to Tyler. The first residents in Danebode were the people who planned the community.
My grandparents came here, and they had come to down by Laverne, Minnesota, where there was a man who had come from Denmark, from the same area, so that's why they settled there. But it was all Norwegians that lived down there, and they were looking for Danes. And then they heard about the folk school being started here at Tyler, or Danebode, and they had both gone to folk schools in Denmark, and so they decided to move to Tyler, and that's how we got established here.
The folk school played an important role in getting Danes to settle in Tyler. It was established in 1888, 3 years after the first Danes settled in Tyler. The educational philosophy for the folk school grew out of NFS Grundtvig's extensive and influential work. He had a great respect for people's rights to protect their own identity, and his folk school movement began in southern Jutland in an effort to preserve the Danish culture. The first 15 folk high schools established were lost to German soil in the War of 1864. One of these schools moved 3 kilometers north of the new border and became a model folk school. His educational vision was for a unique school that would serve Danish people of all social standings, especially the farmers. He wanted to give people the gifts of a lifelong love of learning, as well as pride in the Danish culture and traditions. In 1895, 10 years after Danebode was established, Danes made up more than 3/4 of Hope Township's population. Danebode's Stone Hall was erected in 1889. It served as the meeting hall, church gymnasium, and dance hall. It is here that all the Wogensen girls were married. The youngest Wogensen daughter married Hans Christian Pedersen on September 27, 1894, and together they had 6 children who were all raised in the Danebode community. Eventually, 3 of the Wogensen children started their own family farms in the Tyler area, and, as the community continued to grow, Danebode Church was dedicated on June 16, 1895. Though the railroad made a strong impact on settlement in Tyler, it would eventually experience a gradual downfall. With the introduction and growth of the automobile industry, the railroad slowly became less desirable as a means of transportation. Starting in 1926, this decline in the need for railroads became more apparent as the United States highway system was introduced. Tyler was included in the new highway system because Route 14 paralleled the Chicago and Northwestern line. The railroad line through Tyler remained in regular use until the 1960s, as bulk transport still relied heavily on the railroad for oil and grain. The last passenger train went through Tyler in 1968. In 1986, the line was sold to a new company called the Dakota, Minnesota, and Eastern Railroad. The company was formed with the hope of decreasing the costs of local transportation of oil and yields, so new rails which could handle heavier loads at higher speeds were welded in place of the old ones. Today, Tyler sees 4 trains coming in and out of town on an average day at 40 miles an hour. Anna Wogensen and Hans Pedersen's son, Leo, my great-grandfather, took over the family farm and raised his family in the Danebode community, which continued to prosper. My grandfather, Curtis Pedersen, was baptized, raised, and confirmed in the Danebode Church. Through the years, the people of Tyler fought assimilation to maintain their Danish heritage and cultural traditions. Thanks to a turning point in 1885 that brought the railroads to Tyler, to this day, the Danish community continues to celebrate their Danish heritage with annual events like Aebleskiver Days, the Danebod Christmas Festival, and summer Danebod family camps, which take place in the original Danebod buildings. Without the philosophies of NFS Grundtvig, places like Danebod would not have been possible. A church was built to honor him in Copenhagen. The foundation stone was laid on Grundtvig's birthday, September 8, 1921, and the church was completed on September 8, 1940. After the reunification in 1920, the present-day border was established, and the area, which is called Dibble, is now a Danish national park. Many of the soldiers who died in the attack on Dibble are now buried in 4 large common graves. There are several memorial stones throughout the area where the soldiers fell. The Dibble Mill is now a Danish national symbol, showing the Danish resistance and endurance. The mill is also significant to Germany because it laid the grounds for German reunification to become the state of Germany as we know it today.